Hello, welcome to Mending Threads. This is your safe place in your stronghold for whole body wellness. This is a transformation series discussing topics of wellness, mind, body, spirit, thoughts, deeds, actions, and situations. We have approaching us the holiday season, and we're in the throes of the holiday season, and we see much and many questions are asked. What can I do? How can I get myself situated? There have been so many things that have been happening. So today we have with us our co-host and leader, Aswald Walker, from the Shrine of the Black Madonna, who is co-pastor there. He's active and he can share many other things, but he's active in the community, editor-in-chief in newspaper, active with the Shape Community Center. You name it, he is really there because he cares. And so he's going to share some information today, and we're going to talk about different cultural aspects and how to overcome holiday blues and more from more than one perspective. So welcome, Doc Walker. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing, Dr. Lewis?
Good. It's always good to see you. It's almost like every time I see you, we got something new. We got something to talk about. It can be the same thing, but a new point. Life is just so complex and intricate.
Yes, it is. Preach.
Listen, so I really, because you always have such talk. So let me talk about, I wanted to ask you then, when you think of holiday blues, or when you think of holiday situation, what do you think? What comes to your mind?
I think about One of the things I think about is the fact that so many of us are oblivious to the fact that our friends and family may be going through you know some holiday depression. Um, I
Mhm.
remember just a couple of weeks ago, I saw a church member and asked her how was her Thanksgiving. And the first words out of her mouth was, "It was rough, but we made it through." I had forgotten she just lost her father.
Yes, yes.
She just lost her father. And so, just hey, how was your Thanksgiving? You expect, oh, it was great. It was this, that, and the other. People are dealing with loss, especially if you just lost someone.
Yes.
A holiday can be a really, really traumatic kind of thing.
And you can go on and add in there, not even if you just lost them,
Yeah, yeah,
because it's like a space or a hole that's there, you see. And if you got a lot of those little holes and whatever, little empty spots, because I think it's physically something goes on with the body. I know that.
yeah.
Okay.
And when you said there's a hole there, you made me think of there's an article in the Defender written by our managing editor, Rashonda Tate. Um, and it was talking about Thanksgiving traditions. And um, one of the things that one of the readers wrote in and said was, um, our family suffered a horrific loss. We lost, it was the mother. She had lost her husband and her daughter. I think it was to a car crash or something. And so
Mhm.
now it was her and her son. And she said that they had to avoid those traditional family gatherings because they just felt like there was a hole.
That's
When you
right.
said hole, you made me think of that there was
Oh
like a
boy.
hole there, and it was just
Hmm.
too much for them to bear. So they started a new tradition. And so
Hmm.
now every Thanksgiving they go to a different a different, destination. And they've been all over the country, all over the world, but that's their way of, dealing with that.
Yes, that's true. And so when you were saying that, I was thinking how we changed up because of those holes, after having lost my daughter and my husband and things like
Mhm.
that. We now visit. I do the Saturday after Christmas. And
Mm.
so we do honoring the family and tradition and stuff, and I do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody comes to my house for that. And then
Okay.
I go to different family members and celebrate with them. So we
Yeah.
choose to go to different, yes. So that's how we're doing that, to just keep that whole, and to talk about the holes.
And just to add one other thing,
Mhm.
because this is even more personal for me, I still love Thanksgiving, but every time I think of Thanksgiving, the first thing I think about is the fact that my grandfather died on Thanksgiving. My
See,
mother's father. We
mm-hmm.
got word that he was sick, and this was like in the 70s. And so we were living here in Houston. My mom, me, and sister, we got on a bus to go from Houston to Cincinnati. And I'll never forget it because they said it was going to take, I don't remember how many hours, but we got to Kentucky, and Kentucky, then there's the river, and there's Cincinnati. We could see the city, and it was like 3-4 hours before we were supposed to get there, and then it turned into a local. And so we're all stressing because we're trying to get there, to see our grandfather, my mom to see her father. And we got there too late.
Right. Isn't that
Yeah.
something? Mm-hmm. And well, you never can tell. It might be good for her not to have been there. You don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you actually see the transitioning,
Mm-hmm.
it can be good or whatever. But I'll say this to my audience, and I'm still asking that question. How is it that God wants me to be there with all of my key people transitioning?
Mm.
Somehow, and I'm still searching that answer. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so I truly understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we're talking losses this morning. We're talking happiness. We're talking change, and those kinds of things when we think of holidays. So when we look at loss, we think of kind of sadness a lot of times. And then so when is there a way that we could go back and redefine or look at loss a little differently? Is there a way, you know?
There is culturally, and this is, of course, more difficult than just words that I'm sharing, but culturally, um, African people traditionally have looked at um, death as a transition to just another aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
Getting there to that headspace is more than a notion for most of us, but that is one way that our people culturally have dealt with loss, and so they recognize that the mourning is part of the process, the tears are part of the process, but there's that realization that it's said that as long as we remember the names of our ancestors, they are still here, they are still present with us and among us, and that life is a transit. I just watched Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever, and the foundational theme for that movie is how do we deal with loss. And so that was one of those things that was shared over and over again. um,
I haven't seen it yet. I promised myself during the holidays if I could find it, I was going to go.
yeah.
Can you now get it on home at your house?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Well, I
But
guess
but
I
but
have
that
to.
but that's one way. Um, and how you get to that space is going to be a journey, but that
Mhm.
is one way to recognize that you know this is just part of that transition, part of our
Mhm.
life, part of our life's journey. And I'm going to have to come on another time and get a little more specific into that because there's a whole
Yes.
lot of information there. Um,
Yes.
there's a whole lot of information there that could help our viewers, could help you and me. But I think we definitely need to delve into that. But in terms of just like specifically the holiday blues, as they are called, or the depression that some people feel for whatever reason during these times, maybe
Mhm.
because of divorce or the death of some, or whatever, um, or they just never had positive experiences during the holidays. Um,
Mhm.
I have some things I think can help people. You let me know your feedback. Aswad, you're making sense there. Aswad, that's crazy. We need to throw that one out.
Yes.
Um, but one of those things that I would suggest that we do, like if you find yourself in that space where you are feeling the blues coming on, so the depression, you want to, most times when people feel like that, they want to um, turn inward. They want to turn inward. And
Mhm.
so my challenge to you, if you are there, is to reach out, to push past that 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 drive to just keep to yourself and put more energy into reaching out. Um, we were literally biologically, we were created as social beings. We were created for connection, and
Mhm.
so in those most difficult times, even though it feels good to us or it makes sense in our brains, to just turn inward and push everyone away, that's not the healthiest thing to do. Reach
over
out to
over
someone.
over over the while. But initially, I think, and I'm holding on to that part that you're just saying. But I know that initially you might want to stand still and retreat just to get your pace, your composure and pacing for making your connection. But
Oh,
definitely
oh,
move out there just so that people would think that they're not retreating, that they can't retreat. I'm just
yeah.
reiterating that they can retreat initially. When you're depressed, they tell you to listen to sad music first and go on and scream out, listen to the sad music and change the chemistry. And
Mm,
and then scream out and say what it is and then move gradually to a little bit of different music, a little bit of music as you move, but to start where you are and to move there. So yeah, you're right. Retreat and then keep in mind the connection. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the way you put that. And the second suggestion I have, which is kind of related to the first, is, we want to like totally turn in, and we also want to shut down in terms of cutting off talking to people or sharing what's going on inside of us. And so the challenge then I'm placing before us, and I'm placing these before myself too, because I'm an introvert by nature, is
Mm-hmm.
to speak up, to talk to somebody. And I love the
Yes.
way you said, it's okay to retreat at first. It's okay to find that quiet space, alone space, and, do
Mm-hmm.
your prayers, do your crying, do whatever you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to reach out and you have to speak up. You can't just keep it all inside of you, because it's going to come out in one form or another. And oftentimes the forms that come out aren't the
Mm-hmm.
best.
And even so, the audience that's listening on Facebook this morning, although the show will be seen on Culture Vision TV next Tuesday at 7 p.m. But I wanted to say, we learn a lot from animal behavior. So when an animal is sad, I pay attention to my cat. When an animal is sad or feel frustrated, they will go off by themselves to a corner somewhere and curl up. And they will their position, you can see the gestures and the position. If you don't believe me, look it up on the internet. Positions of their head is different, just like human beings. And
Mm-hmm.
then they will come to that person that they feel care, that they think cares for them, and they will then put their little paw up or lay their little head on your foot or something to make connection with the person that they think they care about. So I see that with dogs and cats, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And you see it with people too.
Yes, with
You,
people. Yes.
you definitely
Hmm.
see it with people too. That's right. The third thing I was going to suggest is, there's a saying that whatever it is that you want in life, you need to be that thing. Like
Yes.
if you want to be loved, you need to be loving.
Yes.
If you want courage, you need to show courage. All those kind of. If you want faith, you need to exhibit faith.
Faith. Yes.
And it's kind of the same thing when you're in that space um, of the blues, um, needing people to check in on you. I would say
Hmm.
check in on others. I would say
Yeah.
pick up the phone and call
Hmm.
folks just to see how they're doing. Um, Text somebody, email somebody, FaceTime somebody,
Yes.
just to say hello, because oftentimes we discount the power of our own presence in other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know how uplifting it would be for a friend that hadn't heard from us in a while, or from a family member, just to hear our voice, just to see
Mm-hmm.
our face, even when we're not feeling well. And especially when we're not feeling well, just check
Yes.
up on somebody else to see how
Yeah.
they're doing.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I wanted to say about that is some people, when I say some people, I have gotten this information from many people, is that I wanted to call that person, but I didn't because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to respond. And so one of the things that I tell people is just call and tell them, I don't know what to say, but I'm calling to say that I care about you. You see, and that's all you have to say.
Yeah. And see, what you're talking about is, if I know that someone is hurting, um, or it seems like they're going through a difficult situation, calling them. And that's on my list too. But what I'm saying is, if I'm hurting,
Yeah.
if
Oh,
I'm
yes.
going through
Yes.
something, I
Hmm.
need to reach out to somebody else just to check up on them.
On them. Uh huh.
Because
To
even just
reach.
in doing
Reach
that, you
out.
don't know how that could lift up your spirit.
It does.
Yeah.
As soon as you help someone else, it does.
Yeah. And that's
I,
been scientifically proven, but I know you already know all that.
I know, but I want our audience to know that as soon as they do that, it changes the chemistry in the body from, like we have the fight or flight or that kind of thing. It takes us away from getting away from something, from retreating, and helps us to move toward a whole different chemistry and start resonating us with peace. So as soon as we reach out, the motivation of our behavior or that moment changes. And so
Yeah.
that's what people really need to hear what you're saying, that it's going to help them, and then they can better even help themselves and other people. Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why, the holiday season, people feel like it's just has like this kind of different energy, because during the holiday season you see a lot of people that are volunteering and helping others. And what has also been shown by research is, if I'm trying to help you, um, what the numbers say and what science says is, I'm actually getting more benefits than you are. And
Yeah.
I'm not telling people to go out and help others just to selfishly feel better, but that's literally what happens to our bodies, to our minds, bodies, and spirits. When we see someone in need, we're working at a soup kitchen helping to feed people. We're gathering coats for folk who don't have, you know, whatever kind of service it is that we are giving. Operation Love happens every Christmas time at Blackshear Elementary, led by Brother Ken Rogers, where he gets all these different businesses and individuals to come in and provide um, gifts and haircuts and manicures and pedicures and food and all these things, not only for the children of Blackshear, but for literally anyone who shows up. And so you
Yes.
have all these people that are there giving and giving and giving to others and making their Christmas. But the people who are doing the giving are also receiving blessings of better health and better, um, just feeling better about themselves.
Yes. Uh-huh. And training them to do that. Training little people to do that. I'm gonna share this story briefly. I remember I was upset with my dad, and
Hmm.
he, when you were saying that, I was our visualization, I can see it just as quickly. He would make us go and help other people clean their streets, especially the seniors, take their garbage cans in and offer to go to the store. And on
Mm.
Christmas time, we had to take them a meal. We had to cook cookies and take it to them. And we would just be so angry that we couldn't do what we wanted to do with our friends, but we had to do that. And
Hmm.
now I really thank him, you see, for that, for having us do that, and to forge I call it a wellness attitude. It's like what you're speaking about, doing something for someone else means that even if you didn't plan on it, you're doing something you don't want to do, when you don't want to do it, how you don't want to do it, for the benefit of others. And when you do that, you're developing what they call as a wellness attitude, or I guess self respect and other respect. You
Mm-hmm.
see, something like that. So yes, so when you were doing it, I was thinking about how I was resisting, but yes, and now I find myself doing a lot of that.
Doing that very same thing, right?
Doing the very same thing, doing it, you see, and we do a walk in my shoes
Mm.
where we do that particularly around January.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it does is it says that whatever you struggle with at that time and overcome, you have to share it with someone else.
Mm.
Okay. And so I think that that's something that you're speaking about that actually brings on healing, hmm of
Yeah,
anything. hmm
yeah.
You know,
Another thing that we do as a people that's very culturally based, and I think I've shared this with you before. If I go to your house for the first time and I walk in, I am immediately drawn to whatever photographs you have of family around the house.
right.
Wherever I go, I walk in a place, and that's the first place I go. I don't
That's
know
the
why. I'm just drawn to that, to that,
yes.
and that kind of reminds me of. Uh, I know something that members of my church, the Shrine, we do. We're encouraged to set up altars in our homes. Altars so you can pray. A place to pray,
Yes.
a place set apart to meditate, and all that. But on those altars, we're also encouraged to place either photos or mementos of those people who have gone on.
Yes.
And that is a really old Black tradition, way older than my church, the Shrine. And oftentimes, you go to a Black home, we don't call it an altar. We just literally just have a space where we have all those photos of the people, or we have mementos, or we have the program bulletins from when people pass, the
Mhm.
celebrations of life. But those are ways where we can keep those people, those souls in our spirit, in our midst, and in
Mhm.
our presence. And oftentimes that can minister to our spirit when we're feeling down.
I have some little children that come to my house. How come those old people are up there on that wall? I mean, it's so cute. Thanksgiving. This was I had a birthday in November. And they were like, they came over and they were like, "How come you got all them old people up there?" And I have some of those old frames. You know how they used to have those different shaped kind of frames.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to explain to them that those people are related to you. And
Yep.
then I tell them about the people, and they were like, "Well, they just how come they hanging around and stuff?" Like it felt like they were personalizing the individual themselves. Like
Mm-hmm.
they were talking to them. So yes, I do. But our children need to know more about it. Yes. hmm
Yeah.
hmm
So, well, happy belated birthday. I heard you just say that.
Yes, we don't. We're not going to talk about the number. Just go right on.
Not going to talk about the number,
We're not
but
going to
but
talk about the number.
but those are things that I wanted to share in
hmm
terms of culturally. I mean, culturally, we're a communal people. We celebrate community, and so many of the things that the suggestions I make speak to that connection, the reaching out,
hmm
um, even when you want to turn in, the speaking up or speaking to somebody, even when you want to just kind of shut it down and keep it to yourself,
Right.
checking on other people, even when and especially when you're going through something, um, because in brightening up someone else's day, you just may find out that your day and your spirits get lifted a little bit. One I didn't mention, which is also very much a part of our cultural tradition, is gratitude, giving thanks.
Yes. Yes.
Giving thanks. I know, we just had Thanksgiving a week or two ago, but Thanksgiving is a practice. It's a value. It's a way of life. It's way beyond more than any one day. When you go back and look in our history, um, our people have always had what they call festivals of the first fruits, where
hmm
after you plant the seeds and you water and you do all that you can, you got to sit back and let God do what God does. And then
hmm
when those vegetables sprout up and you can eat, what our people did the first thing they did was stop everything and let's give thanks, because the bounty that we have before us is a gift from God, and we can never,
Mhm.
never forget that.
Mhm.
And those festivals of the first fruits were given all kinds of different names. In fact, Kwanzaa itself means festival of the first fruits.
Mhm.
But in the Bible, um, one of the reasons why um, the Hebrews were coming back together for this big celebration was because they were celebrating their own festival of the first fruits. They were celebrating the fact that they were celebrating the first harvest in the promised land. And so Black
Mhm.
people, African people have always made it our business to give thanks in a communal way, on annual occasions, but also
Mhm.
on a daily basis. And I know
Mhm.
this helps me out, when I'm going through my ups and downs, to remember, like when I lay down in bed, um, I've just started this tradition. It just comes to me right when I lay down. I just start thinking, thank you, God, for this, for this, for this,
Yes,
for this.
yes, yes.
And it's amazing what happens when you take the time to say thank you. You start to, well, I have to speak for myself. I start to remember and realize, wait a minute, I was literally praying for this. I prayed for this, and it's happened. And I didn't even realize I had received answered prayer. But taking the time to assess and just say thank you for waking me up, thank you for helping my car not break down when
Yes.
it has every right to break down. Thank you for my wife, who has put up with me, um, in spite of all logic and sense. Thank you for my children. Thank you
Mhm.
for thank you for whatever passions, God, you've given me, whatever talents. Thank you for. I feel like, and I know I've said this to you before, I feel like I have to be one of the most blessed people on the planet in terms of the
Mhm.
people that God has allowed me to share life with, the people that I've been able to meet, like you, like so
Mhm.
many other people in my life. Sometimes I
Mhm.
have to say, how on earth did this happen? That I know that person,
Yes.
that they know me and they consider me a friend. How did this
Mhm.
happen? I
Mhm.
just, you know, just that giving thanks,
Yes.
when you're up or when you're down, especially when you're down,
That's
is
right.
something that we have to do. We've got to make it a regular, daily practice.
And the other thing is what it does is it takes you when you begin to say thankfulness, appreciation, and many times when you just write down these things, what it does is it helps you to not only have it in your heart, but it becomes a part of your thinking. So instead of everything you're looking at, thinking you want more or I don't have this, it keeps your mind in that gratefulness that I do have a roof over my head. I do have peace of mind, and every day that I meet people that I'm working with and they're in torment, I am so thankful that somewhere he allowed me to be centered around people, not that all the people that are in my circle, such as yourself and Pastor Wilson and all these people, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
But think about it that those people are in that circle and you have a peace of mind. You could have been out there doing something else or something else. People do come into your circle and they bring frustration and torment. Okay, but what happens is, however God has placed it, someone in that inner circle, along with the peace of mind or the way you think, that He's helping you to think, brings you right back to the center and gets rid of the torment.
Yeah.
The torment becomes irrelevant. You see, where some people stick with it and everything they do is colored or changed or something like that. You see.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was interviewing, just thinking about things to make me feel grateful or remind me of why I should be thankful. And music is one of those things that helps me. I was interviewing Dr. Alana Curry, um, the trauma psychologist, here in Houston, and I asked her a question, like, "What's your favorite music genre of music?" Like, I'm expecting R&B, blues, hip hop, whatever, and she said, "Music that feeds my spirit, music that feeds my spirit, that uplifts." And she's not the only one that's giving me that answer. I think Pastor Tia Norman of the Awakenings movement gave me that same answer, and I like that music that feeds my spirit.
Mm-hmm. And you can identify that music too.
Oh, definitely.
Soon as you play it, you can have a frown on your face, and it will just all go away, and your shoulders are no longer humped, and you can just feel one with yours, whoever you believe in God. You feel one. You feel yourself as one,
Yeah.
and it seems to have a lot to do with different kinds of music. But one music for me was wind music. Like something whistling in the air. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
like it's a cross between African music and Native American music.
Mm.
Uh-huh. And I have some of that music, and it takes your blood pressure down, but it's not
Wow.
words, it's all just instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the sounds of the instrument in the air. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So that's the you mentioned Kwanzaa. Another thing that you were talking about in terms of overcoming holidays would be rituals. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit, because when people incorporate or develop a ritual, that they can either accommodate change or they give meaning to the holiday in any shape or form that they want to. Maybe they could incorporate some principles, they could come up with their own family thing or whatever. But I do know that rituals then help to overcome holiday blues.
I'm looking for my book entitled Rituals by Malidoma Somé. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in that book, and also his book, The Healing Wisdom of Africa, and his book of Water in the Spirit, he talks about just how critically important rituals are to all people. Um, but they've all especially been important to African people, to Black
Mm-hmm.
folk. And the way he describes rituals, he says rituals are a way of um, bringing order out of chaos. Like our lives can be so chaotic, right? We're up, we're doing this, we're worried about that, we're moving around. Rituals help us to slow down, to center ourselves, and to listen to that small, still voice, um, and to remind us that it's not just us. That God, we are connected to all people, the universe, to God. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but rituals during the holidays, I think, are really important. My wife, and youngest child, we participated in one of those rituals just this Saturday, where we started decorating the house for Christmas.
Yes.
Our two youngest girls they were in their dorm, so they weren't able to be here. But what my wife did was she took pictures of everything, and she sent it to them, and she sent it to our other daughter that's in Michigan, who's a new mom, by the way.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh,
and so
congratulations.
yeah, and so even though they weren't able to be here physically, they were still able to be a part of the ritual experience.
Yes.
So I think that's important for some families, or for some people. Part of their ritual is driving around the neighborhoods that have the
Light.
festive
Yes.
lights.
Yes.
Um, at the Shrine of Black Madonna in Atlanta, Georgia, um, we have an annual festival of lights every Christmas Eve. There's this
Mm-hmm.
huge production program so that people can bring in, Christmas, right there in the comforts of a friendly, safe environment. And that's been going on for what, 30, 40
Oh, that's
years
so
now.
wonderful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those rituals, we attach such meaning to those, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They help ground us. They help remind us of who we are. They help us push past whatever issues we may be having in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
because they remind us of, our relationships are bigger and more important than whatever issues we may be going through at the moment. So those rituals are really, really, really important. And like you said, you can create your own.
Yes, identifying maybe your ancestors, what they did, and there was a little thing in creating. You talking about decorating? It was something about people in the rural. They thought if they and that was something they would collect all of the growth, like their fruit trees, their canning, the soaps that they made, and they would give everybody a bag of something that they made. You see, and that was so special during the Christmas holidays, as opposed to going out buying something. So that was their tradition, grandparents' tradition. Hmm.
Nice.
I think that we have talked about some really good things right now, and I'm hoping that our audience can hear what we've spoken about, and that we have to start internal, start where you are, bring people
Hmm.
around you, and really try to create rituals, try to think about things in a positive manner, come up with a different way of looking at the same thing. And I think more look at the purpose for this season. Look at what you're doing and why you are here. Okay, I want to thank you, Doc Walker, for being here, and I'll try to follow up with you today about this evening. But I want to thank you for being here and sharing this. This is so special. Now you think maybe not, but a lot of people are going through troubles right now, and this is something that's going to help heal. So anybody that would like to have some answers to this, some personalized questions, please email, but go to wrc-houston.com, leave us a testimony, a comment, and we look forward to hearing from you and your contact information. Thank you. Renew beliefs, rebuild faith, and reconnect families and communities. For it's not the circumstances we meet, it is the manner in which we respond that determines health, happiness, and success. Same place, same time, same station, God willing. Thank you.